Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we are seeing how when the blazing fire emanates from the mouth of Sankarshana for many thousands of years, according to our human calculation, or for around 100 years of the demigods. And then there is a torrent of rains, winds and waves, and then the water of devastation overflows. So this is the beginning of partial devastation. And at that time, the great sages in the higher planets, they offer their prayers. And that is what is being said here. Antaha satasmin salila asate anantasano harihi yoga nidra nimilakshaha stuyamano janalayaihi. The inhabitants of Janaloka planet, stuyamana, they began to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They started offering their prayers. And in the purport, Prabhupada is commenting about how the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He was lying down on the water with His seat as Ananta, Shesha, and the Lord's eyes were closed. Yoga Nidra Nimilakshaha. Nimilakshaha means the eyes of the Lord were closed. And the Lord was in His mystic slumber. He was in His mystic sleep. So in the purport, Prabhupada points out, we should not understand the sleeping condition of the Lord to be the same as our sleep. The word Yoga Nidra is specifically mentioned, which indicate the Lord's sleeping condition is also a manifestation of His internal potency. So just like one of the important characteristic of living entities, sleep. Like we sleep now in Bhagavatam class when we are hearing. If things are going beyond our mind, we are not able to comprehend, we sleep. If the subject is not very interesting, we sleep. Isn't it? So that is one of the characteristic of living entity. And what is the characteristic of sleep? Characteristic of sleep itself is ignorance. Isn't it? The moment you sleep, you forget the reality. You are in a dream world, you are in a different world. You are not in the real world. That is the meaning of sleep. So, sleep is associated with ignorance. That is why Bhagavatam says, the living entities are actually wasting their time sleeping. Especially in the night, we sleep for around 8 to 9 hours. So practically, if you see, of the 12 hours, of the 24 hours, nearly nearly half of the time is spent in sleeping. So, Bhagavatam says that most of our time, specifically in human form of life, if we waste away in this ignorant condition, in this sleeping condition, then most of our life is practically finished without attaining anything valuable. So, Lord's sleep, when it is mentioned in the Vedic literature, when it is mentioned in Bhagavatam, it is not an ordinary sleep. It is not nidra, which is filled with ignorance. It is not nidra, which is associated with waste of time. It is yoga nidra. The Lord sleeps through His internal potency. Yoga, when this word is associated, means transcendental. So it is not ignorant sleep, it is transcendental sleep of the Lord. Even when the Lord is asleep, we can see the work of devastation is going on. The work is still going on. Like in today's conversation, we were hearing Prabhupada is talking to some of his disciples who were scientists. And Prabhupada is, the devotee is saying that what to do, we have to be active in this world. So Prabhupada is pointing out, yes, activity is there, but what is the use of being foolishly active? Isn't it? The dog is also jumping and he is also very active. The monkey is also very active. And when the monkey becomes active foolishly, it only creates destruction. So there is no question of foolish activities. In that sense, the world, now when they are saying that they are active, according to a yogi, according to a devotee, they are still in a sleeping condition. Bhagavad Gita, it is said, what is day for ignorant people is night for devotees or a yogi. What is night for a yogi, it is day for ignorant people. How do we understand this? Anyone? Garuda Vijaya. How do we understand this? What is night for a devotee or a yogi is day for ignorant people. And what is day for a yogi is night for ignorant people. It has two meanings. One is literal meaning, another is implied meaning, which Prabhupada explains. Anyone? Yes. Literally also we can see when we wake up early in the morning by around 3:30, 3:45, most of the people will be snoring till around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. By the time we have finished all our important activities of Mangalarati, chanting, everything, we wake up the Lord early in the morning, Jagrana Seva, we do. Isn't it? So that time people are sleeping, so it is night for them at that time. And it is already day for a devotee. And these people, they become very active at night time, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, you can find them roaming around cinemas, pubs, restaurant, illicit connections, isn't it? All these people, they are very active at night time. Especially if you go in Bangalore, you will find in MG roads and all that places. At night time, they are very active. After 9 o'clock, only their activity begins at that time. Pubs and restaurants, their activities begins at that time. When the government wanted to close it down at around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, they were saying our activities, our business starts at that time. You see, pubs and restaurants, their business starts at that time. You can find, especially if you go in the night time, you will find a lot of people standing in the queue, waiting for drinking. So literally also you can see, what is night for them, at that time, it is day for the devotees. And what is very active time for them, that time the devotees goes to take rest, so that he can become freshen up and he can get up and he can come for Mangalarati. So literally also we can see that. Otherwise also Prabhupada explains, the activities of ignorant man is night for a devotee. Why? The devotee has no interest in that, because it's all ignorant activities. It is sleeping condition. The devotee is awakened at that time. He is awakened to spiritual activities, means he is sleeping to material activities. Whereas opposite is also true. When the devotees are chanting and they are attending Mangalarati, these people are thinking these people are wasting their time. So for them this is sleeping condition. Isn't it? So literally and understanding the import, we can both see that Nidra is completely different when it is associated in transcendental life and when it is associated with material life. Literally also we can see, when a devotee goes to sleep, also Prabhupada says, because the rest of the day he has utilized in the service of the Lord, even his sleeping condition is also Krishna conscious. Otherwise, how do we say the devotees are 24 hours engaged in the service of the Lord? 24 hours engaged in the service of the Lord means, even in our wakeful condition, when we are engaged in the service of the Lord, automatically, even in our sleeping condition, we will think about Krishna. That is why it is very important. In our wakeful condition, which is in our hand, where we can plan, we can decide to utilize our time, either in Krishna's service or in Maya's service, that is very important. The sleeping condition is not in our hand. But how you utilize your wakeful condition will decide your sleeping condition. Isn't it? So in that sense, devotees, even when they are sleeping, it is only for the maintenance of the body. It is only to give proper rest, to maintain the body and the soul together, which is required, which is absolutely required to keep the body and the soul together. And if the devotee is actively involved in serving Krishna, even in his sleeping condition, actually he can always remember the Lord, he can serve the Lord even in his sleeping condition. So, Prabhupada is saying, the word Yoga Nidra is different from ordinary sleep, because in Nidra it is generally associated with ignorance, inactivity, like that. Whereas Yoga Nidra means it is transcendental sleep. Transcendental sleep means there is no question of ignorance, there is no question of inactivity, like that. So, whenever the word yoga is used, it should be understood to refer to that which is transcendental. In the transcendental stage, all activities are always present. This is also very important. In the material stage, there is a distinction between sleep and activity. Correct? When we are wakeful, we are aware of the situations. When we are not wakeful, we are not aware of what is going around. We are in some other world. So there is a distinction between sleeping condition and wakefulness in the material consideration. But on transcendental platform, there is no such distinction between the sleeping condition and wakeful condition. Not that when there is sleeping condition in transcendental stage, it is ignorance. That is also called as Yog Nidra. So, Prabhupada says, one should not think spiritual life means no sleep. You see? It is not like that. Spiritual life means also there is sleeping condition is also there, even in spiritual life also. All activities, whatever we are doing here, everything in their pure state are present in spiritual life. Prabhupada says even sex life in its pure stage is present in the spiritual life. That is called actually as Adi Rasa. Krishna's relation with the gopis, Krishna's relation with Radharani, that is pure transcendental love. It is called prema. That same prema becomes transformed in the material world as kama. So all activities, including sex life, everything, sleeping, wakefulness, everything is there. Even there also it is, day is also there, night is also there. But everything exists in pure transcendental form. That is the only difference. So that is what Prabhupada is saying. In transcendental stage, all activities are present. Why Prabhupada is saying? Because somebody may think, especially Mayavadis, they think like that. They always go from negative. They infer positive from negative. That is how they think like that. How do they think? They compare it with negative. They think spiritual means something which is different from material. That is their definition of spiritual. They have no positive understanding of what is spiritual. They derive the meaning of spiritual from what is not material. So how do they understand? They think like this. Matter means sleep. Sleep means ignorance. Spirit means it should be free from ignorance. So, if spirit has to be free from ignorance, spirit means there should not be any sleep. So when Bhagavatam is describing Lord is closing his eyes and he is sleeping, they think that this is Maya, this is material. When the devotees in the night, when they are chanting mantras and making the Lord to sleep with love and devotion, that my dear Lord, please take rest. And when early in the morning the devotee is going and ringing the bell, Uttishta Garuda Dhwaja, Uttishta Govinda, and the Lord and the devotees are chanting mantras that my dear Lord, please open your eyes and with your opened eyes make the whole world auspicious. Those people are thinking that this is all Maya activities. So they think Archana process, deity worship is material process. How with material process you can reach spiritual process? How you can reach spiritual? So they think this material process can only help them to reach to the stage of knowledge. And after knowledge, when one has acquired knowledge, no activities. Sleeping will also stop, awakening will also stop. There is no question of sleeping because awakening there is a question only when there is a sleep. Correct? So they think there is no sleep, there is no awakening. There is no activity. When there is no activity, where is the question of Sukha and Dukkha? Sukha is also not there, Dukkha is also not there. They think that is called as transcendental stage. But actually that is not transcendental stage. Transcendental stage is different. Prabhupada is saying here, all activities are present in transcendence. The quality of those activities are different. See, that is how it is different. It is not that they are absent. Quality of sleep is different in transcendence. Quality of activity is different in transcendence. These people, these impersonalists, because they have got bad experience. They have got bad experience of activities. They have got bad experience of relations. Bad experience of qualities. Enviousness. People are envious. So they think quality means all these things will be present. Qualities means somebody will be envious, somebody will be respectful. Activities means some are good activities, some are bad activities. So they think all these things will be present even in spiritual activities. So they cannot imagine that. Because activities has given them so much problem. Prabhupada gives an example. It is something like a man is lying in the hospital for years together. Terminally he is ill. Many years have passed and he is ill. He is passing stool on the bed. He is passing urine on the bed. And Prabhupada gives the example, he is given sabudana to eat. He has passed many years like this, and then you tell him, my dear sir, one fine day you will get all right. You will be able to eat gulab jamun. You will be able to eat so many things. You will be able to move out. You don't have to pass stool on and urine on bed. He cannot understand. He cannot imagine that stage because he is terminally ill. He has become conditioned to that. He cannot understand there can be a situation where all the same activities. So he is thinking, after I get all right also I have to pass stool? After I get all right again I have to eat? So he cannot understand that eating is different. When he is sick, at that time activities are different, and when he is not sick, when he is healthy, that time activities are different. Similarly, activities in material platform and activities on spiritual platform may look like same, but they are different in quality. That is what we should understand. So sleeping is there, devotees also sleep. Even in the spiritual world you can see, when you read in Krishna book you can see. In the night when they are sleeping, again they are waiting next day, when we will go out again with Krishna. So sleeping is there. And you can see so many, sometimes you can see in the photograph, Krishna is taking rest and the devotees are fanning the Lord so that he can take proper rest. So that sleeping is also there in the spiritual world. The Lord is also sleeping. But that sleep quality is not like material quality. That is what we should understand. Isn't it? So, this is very nicely explained in Bhagavad Gita. It is very beautifully explained. So we'll just try to understand that how spiritual qualities are different from material qualities. So we should not in ignorance think that if these things are described in Bhagavatam, then when the Lord appears or when the form of the Lord is there and he is closing his eyes, that means that form is material because the Lord is also sleeping. So one should not misunderstand. The Lord's form is spiritual and his sleeping is also spiritual. So, in 13th chapter, which is called as Nature, the Enjoyer and Consciousness, there it is very beautifully explained. So, we'll just try to understand that. In 8th to 12th verse, 20 items of knowledge are presented. This is different from interaction. You see, there is something called Kshetra. The living entities are performing actions. The Atma, the soul, is performing actions with the help of Indriya. It is performing action on the field. That is interaction of three modes of material nature. What is our action? It is interaction of three modes of material nature. Knowledge is not counted among the field of action. First of all, you should note this. Knowledge is not interaction of three modes of material nature. What are those items of knowledge? They are not interaction of three modes of material nature. Say for example, amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, shantir, arjavam. These transcendental elements of knowledge, they are not counted among the field of interaction. They are counted separately. These actions of knowledge, these items of knowledge, if somebody acquires, he can come out of this field of interaction. 13th chapter describes first field of action, where our indriyas are involved, 3 modes of material nature are involved, all activities are performed. That is field of action and reaction. This is knowledge. Acquiring knowledge. When we acquire knowledge, these items of knowledge, we can utilize this and come out of this field of interaction. If we come out of this field of interaction, what is the goal of knowledge? That is also very important. Gneyam, Jnana and Gneyam. What is to be known from knowledge? That is also described in 13th chapter. So we'll just try to understand. Prabhupada explains, Amanitvam, Vadambitvam, Ahimsa, Shantirarjvam. These are 20 items of knowledge. Out of these 20 items of knowledge, one item is very important. And that item is the seed of all other items. Seed means, if that is present, all other items will come about. Just like if seed is not there, where is the question of plant? Where is the question of buds? Where is the question of branches? First seed is required. Out of this 20 item, which is considered to be that seed item? The most important item. If one has that item, then all other items will come about. Anyone knows? Ragutta? No. Anyone else? This is also item of knowledge. To understand Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Doshanudarshan. See, this is item of knowledge. When somebody identifies birth, death, old age, disease as real cause of suffering, Dukkha, Doshanudarshate, that is item of knowledge. But that is not seed. Humility? No. Humility will come about automatically. The item Prabhupada says is, Mai cha ananya yogena bhaktir avyabhicharini. Ananya yogena, Prabhupada translates as constant and unalloyed devotion to me. With this single item, all other items of knowledge like humility, everything will develop. Which is the shloka in the Vedas which explains, if one becomes devotee of Krishna, all good qualities will develop. All good qualities will develop. All good qualities of the devatas will develop. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarve gune tatra samasate suraha. Correct? Harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manorathena dhavato bhayi. So, if one becomes a devotee of the Lord, automatically all good qualities will come. So, that is already there. Next, Krishna describes Gneyam yat tat pravakshyami yat gnatva amritam ashnute. Krishna is saying, now I am going to describe to you the knowable from this knowledge, items of knowledge. You develop humility, right? You develop pridelessness. With all these things, what is supposed to be known? Gneyam. That is very important. And if you know Him by this knowledge, what are you going to achieve? Yad gnatva amritam ashnute. You will proceed to eternity. You will attain your real swarupa of being eternal. Anand anadimat param brahma na sat tad nasat uchyate. This is the beginningless. It is subordinate to me. It is called Brahman. And it lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. So, there are two things to be known. One is Brahman and another is another knower of the field. So, Krishna in 13th chapter now will describe two knowers. Gneyam. One, what is to be known? One is Brahman, another is Parabrahman. Now, Krishna is describing Brahman. Next verse, Krishna describes Parabrahman. He says, Sarvataha pani padam tat sarvato akshi shiro mukham sarvataha shruti malloke sarvam avrityatishthati. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes and faces, and he hears everything. In this way the super soul exists. Somebody may think, no, this is description of Atma. How it is possible? How is this description of Atma? Are our hands present everywhere? Are our legs present everywhere? Can I reach wherever I want? It's not possible. But Paramatma, his hands are present everywhere. His legs are present everywhere. So Prabhupada says there are two things to be known. One is that the Supreme Lord, the Super Soul, he is not devoid of senses. That is the first understanding. Another is, his senses are unlimited. Our senses are limited. The difference is this. With my eyes, I cannot see everywhere. With my hands, I cannot reach everywhere. But the Supreme Lord, his hands are present everywhere. Omnipresent. Why do we say? Because here also if we offer the Lord in his Archa Vigraha form, the Lord is accepting. Isn't it? Because it is the Supreme Lord's senses are unlimited. They are not limited by material conditioning. So this verse very clearly explains the Supreme Lord is having senses. Activities are there. What activities are there? Pani padam. If hands are there, the hands are meant for doing something. Padam is meant for going somewhere. So the Supreme Lord has got senses. Next verse explains these senses, these hands of the Lord, these legs of the Lord, they are not ordinary. Because somebody may think, Sarvataha pani padam tat, he has got hands everywhere, he has got legs everywhere. Sarvato akshi, he has got eyes. Akshi means, akshaha means eyes. So somebody may think, if the Supreme Lord has got form, then it must be also material. So next shloka explains, Sarvendriya gunabhasam, Sarvendriya vivarjitam. He is the source of all indriyas, Sarvendriya gunabhasam. Guna means the senses are active because of the Supreme Lord. All the senses are produced. He is the owner of all the senses. He is described as Sarvendriya vivarjitam. One who has no senses. Vivarjitam means no senses exist in him. Asaktam sarva bhrat chaiva. He is maintainer of everyone. But he is asaktam. He is not attached. He is completely detached. Imagine, you are feeding your family everything. Why are we doing everything? All those activities, why are we doing? Why are we maintaining? Attachment. Why am I not maintaining my neighbor? Why am I not maintaining somebody in the street? Because there is no attachment. You see? But the Supreme Lord is maintaining. He is the maintainer of everyone and He has no attachment. Asaktam sarvabhrat cheva nirgunam gunabhoktarcha. You see? He transcends the modes of nature and at the same time He is the master of modes of material nature. So how do we understand that? So Prabhupada explains, this is called Achintya. The Supreme Lord is called Nirguna and at the same time He is having all transcendental gunas. Which shloka in Brahma Samhita explains about the Supreme Lord having transcendental gunas. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santah sadev hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya gunaswarupam. The Supreme Lord's form is achintya gunaswarupam, filled with transcendental gunas. You see? So that is also very clearly described in Brahma Samhita. And Prabhupada explains that this becomes possible to be understood only when we purify our senses. Otherwise, to understand Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's Leela, nothing of Krishna we can understand with blunt material senses. Which is that shloka? Krishna's name, Krishna's form, all are transcendent. You cannot understand them. Atah Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyaihi. With these indriyas, you cannot understand Krishna's sleep. You cannot understand Krishna's waking up. You cannot understand Krishna's name. Cannot understand Krishna's form. None of these things you can understand with this blunt material senses. But if you start serving the Supreme Lord, beginning with tongue, chanting the holy name, tasting prasadam, then gradually, once we become purified, senses will become purified, swayam eva spruti adaha. Automatically Krishna will reveal His form, He will reveal His pastimes, He will reveal His name. Everything about Krishna will become revealed. So we'll stop with this. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.